I'm just exiting.
Okay. So you don't want to. Okay, fine. Then I'll directly start as well once.
Suraj, I'm just exiting. Okay.
Do we have everyone now on the audience side?
I think
Sir, we can start.
Okay, great. So, okay, a very good afternoon to my dear panel experts here and all the audience who is joining online for this really interesting topic, driving change for India's journey towards a sustainable EV ecosystem. So, obviously, as a house rule, I'll probably have a quick introduction round with all our panel experts to just give a very brief about themselves. Many of them actually don't need a really great introduction. However, for the sake of everybody, it'll be good to have each panel member give a brief introduction about them and about their company and what they do exactly, because that will probably set a good context for the audience when you give a response from your perspectives. So maybe I'll start with Uday.
Hi, my name is Uday Narang. I'm the chairman and founder of Omega Seiki Mobility. We're a EV company that has been working on the front lines of green energy and sustainability with many of your co-panelists. Obviously, Randheer, we know for a long time in his previous avatar also. We put about 16,000 vehicles on the ground. We've done three-wheeler cargo passenger. We should be coming out with our e-truck very shortly. It's almost at the final stages of ICAD, the one-ton truck. So there are multiple areas we work on. We are also working a global business in UAE for Africa, and we have with their work going on with us also from Thailand into ASEAN. So we're truly trying to build a EV company that is out of India globally. Obviously, big part of my role is not just to build OSM, but to build the ecosystem, to build this village where it's going to be a cleaner and a greener India. Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, a very warm welcome, Uday. I think I've always seen Uday very energetic and very strong proponent of the EV. And then I always see your post where I have seen that you're not just obviously being a manufacturer or OEM, but I think, as you said, I've seen that you're traveling across the globe, both Europe and now recently probably Southeast or UAE systems, where you were trying to even observe how the infrastructure is been working, how that ecosystem is being set up. So definitely I'd be more interested to get your insights and see how that applies in the Indian EV ecosystem. Maybe Raghu next, if you could give.
So Yogesh, hopefully everyone can hear me. My name is Raghu. I'm the founder and CEO of Toutche. The name and the spelling is always interesting and catches everyone, and it's a good conversation starter. So for those of you who are hearing the name for the first time, it's Toutche. That's a simple name. So we are a electric cycle, one of the premier electric cycle brands in India, one of the first ones as well. Before the electric cycle concept caught on, I must say, much before COVID, our mission is to build the safest electric cycle in the market. And I say in the market, we're talking of India, obviously, as our one of our key markets, but also Australia, UK, and the US, where we're either already present or planning to start operations. So that's who we are. The key, let's say, differentiator or the key point that drives all of us at Toutche is that we are a bunch of engineers and tech people. It's been in IT and tech for over 20 years. So our motto or the mojo is to bring software and the broader tech, digital tech, to improve the overall experience of owning and riding cycle. When I say cycle, it is an electric cycle, yes, but it's more about owning and experiencing and riding a cycle, which to most of us, especially in India, is not a very natural vehicle as we grow into our adult stage, because cycles are usually what we have been used to in childhood. But as we grow up, we kind of gravitate towards the bigger vehicles. But the joy of a cycle is coming back. It's in many markets, but it is coming back to India as well for a lot of reasons. More as we speak later, but that's who I am and what Toutche is and what we're doing. Thanks, Yogesh.
Yeah, no, thanks, Raghu. I think it's been very exciting to see the micro mobility sector, how you're kind of driving that consumer experience, right? As you said, moving back from the bigger to the thing. So definitely happy to dwell further in terms of how you are making that both software and few other things shaping up the micro mobility experience and the EVs ecosystem around. We have Raman.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Raman Upmanyu. I'm working as a industry manager for EV in Marposs here. So Marposs is a global company, and we are an Italian company. We are into basically in market known for very well known for precision equipments supplier. And if I have to give you the crux, what Marposs is doing, Marposs is into measurement, inspection, and testing equipments for I'll not say for the EV segment, but we are from right from the watch to moon. So if because obviously if you want to inspect, test, or measure anything, you can measure with the help of the gauges, the fixtures, or the machines which we are manufacturing. Talking about further, we are here talking about sustainability. So particularly for the sustainability, we like Uday is there, Raghu talked about EV bikes. So yes, we are going forward for the sustainability. Marposs is here to support you for building the sustainable environment qualitatively. So what we are here for is we can provide you the quality control equipments which can ensure the best quality of batteries and motors. So that's what we do.
Great. I think it's a great part of the managing that EV performance or quality for the lifetime per se, right?
Right.
Great. So thank you, Raman. Randheer, obviously need no more introduction, but definitely happy to probably get your previous hat and the new hat, how the things are.
So, of course, thanks, Yogesh, and thanks, Mashmik, for calling me here. In my previous role, I was the Director Electric Mobility at the NITI, and in my current role, I'm the founder and the CEO for the ForeSee Advisors. It's a consulting firm which works across the value chain with the companies, mainly the technology identification, new product development, reports and analysis, putting up the factories. This is the type of work which we do. Of course, the vertical covers everything right from the critical minerals, electric vehicles in all segments, charging infra, recycling, refurbishing. And there is another hat also within this, which is the financing side, because of my previous role in the the Volkswagen as well as in the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, great. I think it's pretty needed stuff for our startup ecosystem, particularly obviously the new companies who are trying to get into India as well, not just Indian one, but outside one as well. So great to have you, Randheer. Next, Yuvraj.
Thank you. Thanks, Yogesh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuvraj Sarda, and I'm responsible for strategy, marketing, communications, and electromobility for Volvo Construction Equipment India. I've been in the EV space for last 12 years now, starting my career with Reva in 2012, then working across organizations like Sun Mobility, and for the last couple of years exploring this different space of off-highway vehicles, and where Volvo is, trying to create sustainable solutions in the form of electric off-highway vehicles and machines. And for the last couple of years, we've pioneered deployment of zero emission construction machines across mining construction sites in the country. Today, we are proud to say we have, a fleet of more than 25 machines across the country. And while the number may seem smaller, but in the context of this industry, of highway industry, which is a very minuscule industry, talking about, 100,000 vehicles or machines per annum. This is kind of starting to make a mark, because the kind of impact this industry has, when it comes to fuel consumption, as well as carbon emissions, and also the regulatory framework here is not as as intense as in automotive, and hence a lot of emissions goes unchecked. So this is a space which is something that we are doing at Volvo, trying to build the world we want to live, and uh, creating solutions which are not just very efficient and productive for the customers, but also very gentle on the environment. So that's about me, and happy to contribute, happy to be on this panel along with all my industry colleagues. Look forward for a interesting conversation.
That's great. So that's great, Yuvraj, and it's very important angle as you mentioned. Although the numbers are pretty small, the way we talk about automotive in millions versus the 25 number or 1,000, but exactly as you said, uh, not the size. I mean, the heavy duty is obviously the one which, when you talk about EV, is comes as a last resort. But the way Volvo is leading that thought process is commendable. So, thank you everyone for your quick, good background and introduction. Uh, Let me just give you my quick background, and then we'll dwell into our key topic and how we see the sustainable EV ecosystem, how everybody is contributing. I'm Yogesh Umbarkar. I head the business for Voltec Mobility, which is the joint venture of Volkswagen Group and Voltec. We are end-to-end connected mobility space. My background is particularly coming from powertrain, where I've seen the conventional IC engine world within Ricardo, then moved to the battery ADAS side, and now towards the connected world overall. And then I have seen, I'm still at heart, I love engines still because that's most of my career. But then I've seen how the batteries and the other hydrogen ecosystem is evolving. I've been associated with multiple companies in that regard as well in the past. And EV is definitely one of my most favorite topic, and that's where Dinesh and we talked about. Happy to kind of moderate the session and get good, insightful interactions going on around. So definitely, as the topic is, we will try to explore how India is leading the charge towards making this sustainable ecosystem, as well as making the mobility more greener, cleaner situation, right? One of the key thing which I always see is, obviously we do have a lot of challenges around. Obviously, India is really leading with good amount of startups, good amount of government policies, and even the incumbent or traditional OEM now gearing up a lot overall. But then we still see the lot of challenges in terms of the making it sustainable, right? When you talk about infrastructure, when you talk about a supply ecosystem, you want to talk about technologies locally manufactured or dependencies of certain semiconductor and few other things. So how this particular session will try to explore how the various ecosystem partners, right? Like the OEMs, the startups, the government, the funding, the financing, and other part of the ecosystem are really trying the efforts to make it sustainable. Now, when we talk about a sustainable kind of a EV ecosystem or mobility, let's try to look at from each one of you perspective what it means to you, right? So maybe I'll go in the similar analogy. Udayji, I'll start because that's where you can even talk much broader from government angle to the EV OEM per se. What is mean by sustainable mobility or sustainable ecosystem for you?
Sure. I think the clear part, first of all, I think I keep saying we have to build a village. And I think to build a village, we need all the participants. I don't think this is just going to be an OEM. It has to be suppliers, it has to be government, it has to be the bureaucracy, it has to be the entire players. I think what has happened is we've had a lot of people think that, it's about building my own startup, getting my round A, B, C, D. A lot of the incumbents, Bajaj said it a few years ago, I'm going to eat everybody for breakfast or whatever. Some of that, and I'll tell you, and why I'm saying this, sustainability means not just sustainable business, but a sustainability of business. What I don't want to see is talk in the market where big players are putting startups specifically are putting volumes in the market, and then they're not giving service or they're giving products that are not up to the mark. That actually plays two ways negatively. Number one, it gives the startup group, which have been doing a lot of work in this space of sustainability, putting 31 of the most polluted cities in the world in our country, and we want a greener and a cleaner future. This is a given. Clean climate change technology is important. We all accept that. I don't think but in India we have to make that technology on the TCO model where it works, right? Because I'll be honest, people care and people don't care about the clean environment. I mean, let's be honest. Despite all the claims against not having firecrackers, the air quality. I was just in ASEAN. I just came back on Sunday late night, and the air quality is so terrible here, right? People still burn firecrackers because in India nobody cares. It's clear. It's very clear, and it is something that the only way we can make this country cleaner and greener. Ye sab bhashan sab sahi hai, right? Until we make the TCO, the total cost ownership model work, then only will you and the rest of the world, I mean, Yogeji and everybody on this panel will go green. I would hope, our good friends, here are a little bit more concerned, about the environment. So we feel that building the village, we compare ourselves to China, but look at the ecosystem that they have built, not just of the OEMs, the government, but even back to the commodity. So I think that this is just a start of a very long-term journey. I'm really but we have come a long way, and I also don't want to say, okay, government will do everything. It has to be a public-private partnership. It has to be make in India. You can bring technology from abroad, but you have to make all of this. And so for me, sustainability means building good products, giving good service, building longevity, giving continuously the incumbents a run for their money to build better products, because at the end, it will be the consumer that will win. And I think that, I think we've done a long way, but I think we've got a long way to go in this journey. And I hope, and I keep saying, for me, at least, this journey is if OSM makes better products and somebody else makes better, the consumer wins. And for me, as long as the consumer wins, but the consumer is only going to win on the TCO model. It's the hard truth of this country, and it's the hard truth we will have to. And I think in the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, it has really worked. But what we do want, I don't want, Instagram messages or videos of vehicles on the service stations or all of this. I want positive news about how EVs are making a change. And sustainable business will only be done if we give better quality products, better service, better products. Maybe thoda zyada time lagega. Maybe hum sab, and let me be telling you clearly, hum sab Elon nahi ban sakte. ईलॉन जो है वो एक ही ईलॉन है, वो सीटीओ ऑफ यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स बन गया है। सो प्लीज लेट्स फॉरगेट कि हम सब सोचे कि मैं ईलॉन हूं। इस दुनिया में एक ही ईलॉन है और वो ही बनेगा। बाकी सब हम अगर ग्राउंड में रह के प्रोडक्ट्स बनाएं, मुझे प्रॉब्लम ये है, I don't have a problem of success, but I want startups and incumbents to give better products, safer products. पहले बैटरी की प्रॉब्लम थी, अब क्वालिटी की प्रॉब्लम है, फिर सर्विस। इट गिव्स अ बैड नेम। कोई आइस से ईवी में आता है, सो दे कंटिन्यूअली से ये तो सब मजाक ही है सर, पता नहीं कुछ बनेगा नहीं बनेगा, नौटंकीबाजी है। एंड आई डोंट वांट दैट। दैट पुट्स आवर मिशन इम्पॉसिबल बिहाइंड। थैंक यू।
No, I think Uday, you really put up, I mean, that energy, that passion shows how you are driving OSM, definitely. And I do agree totally, not just on the TCO, on the even the way you say that sustainability is not just making TCO to buy it, but also across the life cycle, you need to ensure that quality, that service, that experience is managed, right? Because that's where I have seen that, as you said, without taking the names, that there is a product on the road which works, but then if anything happens, hey, see, everybody has got a certain problem, right? But as long as you fix it, people are ready to move on and then go on, right? But then that's where I think the challenge is how you create that service ecosystem the way traditional OEMs have been established for a conventional product. For EV, we need to ensure that. So it's very, very apt. Maybe I'll go with Raghu being on the similar side on the micromobility. What is meant by sustainability in your words?
Yogesh, so I'll try and be, I'd say, pointed and specific. Obviously, there's a lot we can talk about because this is the mother of all questions, isn't it? We can sort of spend the next hour and a half just on this question. So I'll try to harp on a couple of points which, in our experience, may be important to the audience. So, look, our space is electric cycles. And I suppose this question kind of also applies to the entire EV ecosystem in general. When we say sustainability or sustainable ecosystem, what are we technically saying? We're saying optimizing various stages of sourcing, production, demand and business model, usage. So, we need to make sure that sourcing is optimized, production happens in an optimized manner. There's an optimized, price, TCO, just the overall model of ownership. And then when the users are using the vehicle, they need to have a very good experience. Look, the whole idea, sometimes we forget when we are asking people to leave their IC engine cars or motorbikes. In our case, we say just leave the larger vehicles and use smaller vehicles. But when you ask people to change, you need to offer a better alternative. That's how it is, simple. It has to be better in terms of either cost of buying, cost of ownership, or just pure experience of using it. So it is important that we kind of optimize all this. Now, I'll not get into all of the points. I'll kind of harp on two things, especially in the Indian context. When we talk of sourcing and production, optimizing that sort of those two phases, these are probably the most critical phases for all of us manufacturing in India, either for India or for the global markets. And sometimes we feel that, hey, sustainable sourcing and manufacturing means that we need to be always local. In my view, that's an ideal scenario. Okay? Every sort of ecosystem wants to be local. However, a lot of times you may not have that, that advantage or that sort of infrastructure or that natural sort of phenomenon which helps build everything locally. It may need to be, let's say, global. But whether it's local or not, we need to ensure the infrastructure, the policies, and the process is set up to optimize that whole process. Now, let me give an example. Battery making is the core of all EV production and usage. Do we have resources to mine and to sort of procure locally the ingredients that go into making lithium-ion cells at this point of time? Probably yes, but are we doing it? Probably no. Do we have investments, infrastructure to do that? Probably yes, but have we deployed it? Probably no. Now, are there other places where you can source this from? Yes. And then you get into making of the cells itself, which is an extremely capital-intensive part of this whole battery making process. Sometimes we look at the world and say, hey, there's a lot of capacity in some country, but that doesn't matter. We'll build extra capacity or we'll build new capacity from start here. Now, is that optimized? I'm not sure. Because today it's a global world. It's a world without barriers. If there is excess capacity in one location, that means the market forces need to make sure that that capacity is used. And whether we like it or not, China has established a capacity today. Okay, and if the world does not figure out how to use that efficiently, then somewhere down the line we are wasting the resources that have gone into building that. Yes, people have, countries have problems, some challenges trading with China, etc. Geopolitical, I'm not getting into that. However, what I personally feel is that we need to establish an optimized stage where that whole sourcing and building that ecosystem, even if some part of it is not local, we optimize it to make it appear like local. So that the whole parts or components that need to come from somewhere else comes in smoothly, faster, quicker, without too many red tapes, and then it sort of does not become a bottleneck in production. That's point number one. Point number two is it's super important if India needs to win the game globally as a manufacturing hub, as a supply hub, or as a product hub, as an offering hub. We need to crack the code of innovation. Because I hear a lot of talk about how we can build and how we can build at the cheapest cost and how we can beat China and become the manufacturing partner of the world. Super, great story. That does not take us or keep us. It's not a sustainable vision. The vision is sustainable if you want to be the leader in innovation. China today actually, is shaking the world, whether it's Europe or US, because they're now moving away from being just a manufacturing leader to an innovation leader. Check out the cars that they're building today. Okay, the electric cars that they're building, putting out there in the market at half the price of Tesla. The reason why US and Europe are putting all these duties and barriers and tariffs in place is not because of just the cost. It's because they are offering more value, and that's coming out of innovation. So we need to weave innovation into the ecosystem as an ingredient for success.
Yeah, I think Raghu, you really pointed out very well too. I mean, given the Chinese example is really great one as how they have managed their sourcing backward integration, right, from the lithium mines to making it even innovation, not just making excellence or making that scale at the manufacturing, but adding the value through the innovation. Because as you said, exactly, if you look at any EV, be it BYD, NIO, or any other from the other Chinese maker, I think you can quickly make out the innovation as well within the same game. So I totally agree with you. Obviously, one of the pointer where I would probably see that how others would get into in terms of on the global front, right? And given the geopolitics and given now even more one of the more proponent of the the making it barriers for the global has become has become a more prominent guy now, and that's where we will see how this particular geopolitics is going to shape up, and then dependency for India we need to look at. But before getting into that, obviously we will try to get into that topic as well. Raman, how you see from where you're coming from, Marposs, and your background, what is mean by sustainability in your words?
So for me, sustainability is not just shifting from ICE engine to, the EV atmosphere. For me, sustainability is at every level. So Uday gave the example of, currently the deteriorating air here in Delhi and the climate change. So, I was reading the news the other day. The climate change is happening so fast that we have experienced now the first snowfall in Saudi. I was just reading the news. So it's like about the climate change. So we are left only with, two options, either to continue with this trend, what we are going, or just to, support the initial phase of developing the sustainability that is for the adaptability of EV. So that, just we can start and, develop the ecosystem in a better way. And for me, this shift is not only about adapting the EV. This shift is also about, establishing a responsible sourcing and manufacturing and recycling system here at India. So that's how only we will be able to, do that. And I would say what we need to, have the sustainable environment is we need to have great policies, which we currently have, but policies should include not to compromise with quality and affordability also. Because quality and to, if we want to beat China, if we want to beat, if India wants to beat China, if India wants to beat the Western side, we need to definitely focus on the qualitative products. Second is, if I would say we need to have the cutting edge solutions, cutting edge infrastructure, basically, like, fast charging stations, which is the pain of, the four-wheeler adaptability here in India, the charging infrastructure. And third is, like Raghu also said, that sustainable battery technologies. So I believe if we will have, good infrastructure, adequate resourcing of the raw materials, then only we will be able to, build this complete ecosystem in a better way. And we'll discuss later about other things, but just to tell all the viewers, please, please, please focus on quality of the batteries, motors. Those are the heart of, the EV.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched upon a really good two topics beyond what Raghu and Uday mentioned is on the quality aspect, and also the infrastructure aspects, basically, because beyond the sourcing tissue, at the end of the day, how you make it efficiently running and qualitatively managing it is more important. I'll come to Randheer. Obviously, I think we'd be more interested both from your previous ad and the new ad, what is meant by the sustainability. If you could combine both of your views, that would be great.
Thanks. I think before addressing the sustainability, or in fact, while addressing the sustainability, there is a very good framework which is right now being available are the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. What is happening around it? What are the sustainable development goals which are being targeted or which can be influenced by any activity which you are doing? Whether you are targeting, whether your, whatever work you are doing, it is going to add in any way to these SDGs or not. So let's go through some of the SDGs and see how EVs can contribute to this. So there is SDG 7, which says affordable and the clean energy. So there is something called Target 7.2. It says increase the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. EVs can be charged using renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydropower, which directly contributes to the decarbonization of the energy sector. Plus, EVs combined with the smart grids and energy storage systems, it enables more efficient use of renewable energy, which reduces further dependency on the fossil fuels. There's another target within SDG 7, target number 7.3. It says double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency. So EVs convert more than 60% of the E from the grid electrical energy from the grid into the vehicle movement. So basically from end to end, compared to only about 20% for conventional IC vehicles. This higher efficiency actually helps reduce the overall energy demand in the transport sector. Now there's another SDG, SDG 11, which says sustainable cities and communities. We have a target 11.2, which says provide access to safe, affordable, and sustainable transport. EVs offer a cleaner alternative to conventional vehicles. It promotes sustainable urban mobility. And if you couple this with the public transportation, like electric buses, what we are doing right now here in India, EVs make transportation more inclusive and sustainable. There's again target 11.6, which says reduce the environmental impact of cities, by reducing the tailpipe emissions of CO2, NOx, and PM 2.5, which is very much required right now. If you are in Delhi, you will actually experience it. EVs help improve urban air quality. Now SDG 12 says responsible consumption and production. This is where the behavioral tactics comes into play. There's a target called 12.2. It says achievable, sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. Now, the production and use of EVs, it encourages more sustainable resource use, especially if you combine it with the innovations like lightweight materials, energy efficient manufacturing processes, and also the recycling and the repurposing of the EV batteries is very important under SDG 12.2 for the sustainable use of critical minerals, which include the lithium, cobalt, and the nickel. Now, if we talk about the SDG 13, which is the climate action, and a lot of my co-panelists have also talked about it, integrating climate change measures into national policies and strategies. So we know in India, EVs are the central to national and global strategies for reducing GHG emissions. The National Electric Mobility Mission Plan is directly tackling this particular thing. Policies which include the subsidies for EVs. Recently, PM E-Drive has been launched. Before that, we had the EMPS. Before that, we had the FAME, which is the consumer-facing incentives, and also we have the PLIs. In addition to this, the CAFE norms, the fuel efficiency standard, the new CAFE norms are also going to come. They further encourage EV adoption, aligning with the climate action strategies. Now, what is the impact of this? There are several studies which has been done, and it shows EVs can reduce life cycle GHG emissions by 50 to 70% compared to the ICE vehicles if we are using the clean energy grid. Now, next is the SDG 9, which says industry innovation and infrastructure. And then SDG 3 also targets the good health and well-being. So I think in all, I'll just sum it up here, that EVs are not only the cleaner mode of transport and alternative, they're also a strategic tool so that we can address multiple sustainable goals and can reduce the environmental impact. So I think that's how the sustainability is directly linked with the work which me and my firm do. We work across the value chain and targeting all these SDG goals.
Now, very good insights, I think, Randheer, and being very apt to where you are coming from, SDG, the policy frameworks, and then how that entire value chain is being captured through the framework. And as you said, exactly with renewable energy, you can make EV much more cleaner, as you said, 60 to 70% compared to the ICE, and obviously sustainable. And the way I see from the beyond that climate angle, I would say for the India is even that energy dependence is right overall. So that probably angle comes is much more sustainable for us, given probably the future geopolitical situations. So thank you, Randheer. It's really great views. Yuvraj, so how you see from the obviously coming from the other end of the piece, where we see the last mile mobility, the last vehicles to go under the electrification. That's how the people see that. But then how you've been trying, and what is the sustainable in those from that segment perspective for you?
So, thanks, Yogesh, for your question. Very interestingly, it is not the last. In fact, where these machines are used, that's where is the beginning, because they are used in mines. And To even produce a battery, you need lithium, which has to be mined. To produce a vehicle, you need steel and iron ore has to be mined. To need energy, you need coal, it has to be mined. So actually, a lot of what we experience in our day-to-day life, it all starts in mines somewhere. The
Yeah.
resources are mined, and you know, and that's the reason why it's a very tough tough area when it comes to sustainability, because there is at one end government of India pushing the coal production to increase. Interestingly, you will some of the facts I would like to put on the table, that coal production in India is going to become 1.5x than today in next 2 years, and 2x by 2030. And very natural, because our energy needs are increasing as an economy, and probably we have never been sufficient in terms of our energy generation capacity, and we are just trying to fulfill that gap. And so the thing is that that area where there are mission critical operations, where everyday productivity, every hour of downtime is actually meaning losing out uh, at least thousands of dollars, if not more. uh, that's where, how do you look at sustainability is the question. So we as Volvo Group, uh, our focus is into heavy duty vehicles like trucks, buses, and construction machines. We are the second largest truck maker in the world after Daimler. And when it comes to construction equipment, we are the sixth largest construction equipment company in the world. And it gives us a lot of responsibility, that as the market leaders, how do we drive the market towards sustainability? And that's where Volvo took a stance, and not now, 2018, where we set ourselves a very ambitious goal in the heavy duty segment, looking at going net zero by 2040. And not just for products, we are talking about net zero across the value chain. So that's where our fundamental thought process about sustainability starts from. We believe that sustainability is a much larger concept than just producing electric vehicles. It is about looking at the whole value chain of you doing your business, and looking at every aspect of that value chain, right from, even for us, when we need steel for our machines, we are working with suppliers today. In fact, we are the only company in the world to produce a fossil free steel based articulated hauler, or a, it's like a dump truck.
Yeah.
So you need to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to achieve that. It is not uh, it is not easy. Sustainability as a concept, while everyone agrees to it, but when it really comes to doing the trade-offs for business benefit, there are very tough, challenges. And the only way to solve for it, in fact, I agree to all of my co-panelists here. There were very well points put up by Uday about having the right products for the market. Also by Raghu about innovation, Raman about quality, and Randheer especially talking about the overall sustainability from an SDG point of view. So uh, it all requires a lot of action, and at the same time, you need to make incremental steps. So we launched electric trucks since 2019, and today we are at a state where we have globally deployed a fleet of over 4,000 electric, actually today as we see 5,000 electric trucks. And each of these trucks, when they do 300 kilometers or 500 kilometers per day, which is very common in the Western markets, you're talking about tons of carbon dioxide being mitigated. And so is the case. Even my personal interest in driving this initiative at Volvo is the impact that these machines have. Some of these machines that I'm talking about, they guzzle 35 to 50 liters of diesel per hour, and then they run for 22 hours a day for 360 days. That is the minimum, because these are production machines. Their
Yeah.
job is to dig the mountain, get the iron ore out, and whatever, transport the material, dump it, etc. All these kind of activities, they're all production activities, and they are the biggest guzzlers as well as biggest emitters of these gases. And and for us, the approach towards sustainability is that there is no one solution. Maybe when we started, we thought battery electric is the silver bullet. But then over time, we have developed within Volvo a strategic framework in choosing technology. So what we do when we look at our products, on the x-axis, we look at the utilization of a machine or a vehicle per day. On the y-axis, we look at the intensity of operation, whether it comes of tonnage, number of tonnage um, of a machine, or number of kilometers the machine has to run. And then we choose the technology. So for example, low intensity and low utilization, probably with battery electric and charging combination you can do. Because my smallest machine has 70 kilowatt hour of battery pack, and my normal machine has 300 kilowatt hour of battery pack, and both require 1 hour charging to be able to function. So we choose, okay, where does battery electric fit? Okay, maybe battery electric fits here. But then we have also explored other zero emission technologies that includes using these machines or these vehicles directly connected via grid. Because there are certain operations you don't need to move much. There is one excavator, imagine like a waste handling plant where there's an excavator which is just segregating waste. So there, you just plug it to the grid. You don't need battery, save on cost. Because as Uday mentioned very cleverly, that all that matters to customer is TCO. And for us, it is even more in the construction equipment space, because everything is commercial application. There is no personal interest of anyone considering an electric machine or a sustainably powered machine. So we do look at TCO, we do look at the utilization, we do look at the operational complexity, and then we choose the technology. And we have a bunch of technologies in which we have invested as an organization, starting from battery electric, grid electric, hydrogen, in terms of injection for our existing engine technologies, as well as hydrogen in the form of fuel cells. And beyond that, we are also open, and it's not that we are stuck, but this is the visibility that we have in terms of mature technologies that are available for electrification of automotive or heavy duty machines. And we continue to drive that direction on technology. When it comes to the solution, we look at the whole customer usage scenario. So we've bundled, when it comes to solution. So one part of solution is the machine or the vehicle. Second part of the solution is charging or energy. In that, we have flexible charging options. We have grid connected option. We also have innovated and come up with our mobile power solution for our off-grid, because an excavator actually goes to a jungle where there is no power. Yeah. And that's where it starts to dig. So I cannot send an electric excavator there. So then comes the third piece, which is commercial offering. So we've also innovated and came up with something called as equipment as a service, on the lines of mobility as a service that we've been hearing in automotive. And that is where the solution meets customers' requirements. Customer is able to choose and pick. If customer says, oh, I need the machine, but I cannot invest for a whole life. I need it for 2 years. This is my project duration. We offer them under equipment as a service for 2 years on a pay-per-use model. Yeah. And we customize them based on their usage. And the last piece is the value chain, where we work with our suppliers. In India, our factory is actually running on 95% solar. and our suppliers are constantly encouraged and in fact pushed in certain cases to really move to greener energy, more sustainable ways to manufacture the products that we are. How do they go fossil free? For us, sustainability is fossil free.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also looking at our customer sides, that how do we enable customers to go completely fossil free? So we partnered with Vedanta Resources, which is one of the large mining conglomerate, to help them look at the entire fleet of their machines and trucks and vehicles to help them go electric. So for us, sustainability is more holistic, and I'm glad that Volvo has really looked at it from all perspectives and came up with our vision, and we are treading that path. So
Okay.
hopefully, that's what we believe our industry peers should also think from that point of view.
No, great, Yuvraj. I think you really covered it very well. The holistic picture, right? From not just so starting with, I mean, I like that because we used to also do some of the things on the based on the use case, decide what technology is, then you go into the manufacturing. You look at not just your own manufacturing footprint, but your supply chain carbon footprint of making it greener, including the solar renewable energy overall. So which is, as you said, is it's really good to see the how you capture the as you means Volvo is capturing the holistic view of making it sustainable overall. So I think no, thank you. I think if, everyone has really the way I was anticipating that there will be some repetition of the pointers which I was anticipating from the start, but I really like each one of you have brought a really different aspects and captured how to make it that sustainable. I'll just try now going around one by one also, and then please feel free to now chime in and put your perspective as well. I'll just start with Uday being one of the prominent key player in the electric three-wheeler, and obviously the commercial, and as he said, is going into the truck segment as well. And one of the pointer which I was trying to understand as a OEM, right, to make it that adoption at the end of the day, TISO is one part, but then what kind of a barriers which you are seeing to make that adoption of your, because it's a commercial vehicle, right? As you said, beyond maybe TCO is one thing, but even to make it that TCO, what are the barriers which you are seeing? Suppose if I have to ask you, and then what could be the what are the your approaches which you are trying to overcome those barriers?
First of all, really a congratulations to Volvo Group. Putting 5,000 electric trucks globally. I really want to congratulate. As I said earlier, there is no competition; it's only complementary. And I think when a counterparty or somebody who is in the system builds the village, it is something that we have to really. So my regards out to the entire Volvo team, Yuvraj-san, to yours for putting 5,000 vehicles. That's great to hear, especially on the electric trucks. Please give my regards out to your entire leadership. I think that, as you were saying, for me, yes, there are no difficulties, there are solutions. There will be difficulties in this journey. As I say, it's a mission impossible right from day one. We were building trucks, the 1-ton trucks and the 3.5-ton. And obviously there was a delay in the, in FAME 1 and FAME 2, there was no subsidy. In FAME 3, they've come up with a 500 crore subsidy, which is better late than never. It's good to see that they did that on the ambulances also, and I would like more work done on the ambulances also. But to say the difficulties, look, I think what we continually need to look at is how do we make scale? And I honestly, until, and I think Yuvraj-san, you will also agree that 5,000 is not scale. Scale will be 50, 100, 200, maybe 1 million. And that's only when Volvo Group and everybody else will make money, right? Abhi to sirf, we're trying to test the waters. And I think that, we've got to be able to get scale. Scale ke liye kya hoga? And I think we've seen that in the 3 and the 2-wheelers, that their supply chain has become more efficient. The costing has become more competitive. If you're seeing it Raghu-san, in the bicycles, I will tell you some of the big players, and I sit on a lot of tables. In the near future, you're going to hear a very big player is quietly working on bicycles, electric bicycles. Not a space I'm involved in, but I've had privy to some tables lately who are serious capital players that will get into bicycles also, which needs to be looked at. But my point of difficulties is that I think you need to look at two things. You need to get the charging infrastructure right. We've got to get, I think we've got to have charging infrastructure. People say we have charging infrastructure, but is it in the right place, right? In the world of marketing, they say location. And my point is the location of the chargers right? And is there charging infrastructure there so that range anxiety of, now like, Yuvraj was talking about, Sam was talking about 500, kilometers or 700 kilometers, from Bangalore to Chennai and many other places like that, right? And from Delhi, Mumbai, we need to make sure that the charging infra is there so that range anxiety, specifically for trucks, is not there. And that needs to be worked on. And I think, look, there's work being done. Charge Zone, many other players are in this space. And I think, but I think we are at a very nascent stage, still a very significant work. And that's sort of a concern that there should be more and more effort and money being put on charging, because that range anxiety is specifically there still. Number two, I think that we've got to have a government policy that is sustainable. We don't want to be up and down. And I'll tell you now, my interactions with Niti Aayog, and obviously Randheer ji was there, and now with Qureshi ji and with Sudhendu ji, who I have the highest regard. Many of these people, they've come back and said, FAME 3 is here, uske baad kuch nahi. I'm okay with that. Right, we know game plan. We know, this is where we're going to be. And I think in 2 years, to be honest, the subsidies anyway very minimal. So we all are going to be very clear about our roadmaps. How do we build this business, sustainable business, and a sustainable financial business? I think that financing, which is at the highest level, right? I mean, the commercial vehicles are used by the people that are the lowest on the totem pole, and it charged them 24% interest rate is absolutely wrong, right? I think we are losing the agenda of what we want to do, because आप green energy sustainability की बात कर रहे हैं, आप vehicle लाने की बात कर रहे हैं, passenger cargo में, 3-wheelers में, 4-wheelers में. अब वो भाइयों को अगर interest rate ही आप यहाँ होगा, तो then you lose that. So I think, and I'll tell you what the reason is. The reason why banks and financial institutions are charging that is there is no buyback of EV. Or what is the second life of an EV, right? And so what I'm going to do, I'm always doing some things which are out of the box and crazy. I've already started a buyback of OSM vehicles, and I'm now starting to plan a buyback of other players. Once a financer, so I'm giving you a problem, but I'm also giving you a solution. Problem बताना कि government ये कर दे, वो कर दे, मतलब मोदी जी country clean कर दे, मोदी जी country clean नहीं कर सकते, right? हमें सबको clean करना पड़ेगा, बेचारे भाई को कितना तंग करेंगे हम, right? So मेरा point ये है कि रणधीर जी पैसे मेरे साथ बैठे हुए, पहले उन्हें सुना होगा यही, और but मेरा point ये है कि I would say that financing has to be cheaper. So the cost of vehicles, the financing, because commercial vehicles are all financed. Nobody's buying it on cash. And I think we need to work on that's a problem. But you need to, I don't want NBFCs charging this rate of interest. I think it's absolutely, we've lost all, sort of momentum, because there could be further requirement, but the interest rates are very high. And I think if there's a buyback, if there's a second life, I think, if you go to an ICE vehicle, the interest rates are substantially lower. The delta is so high in ICE versus EV. So I think that needs to be done. I would have said that continuous building of ecosystem at state level. And I don't want certain states like Tamil Nadu, states like Delhi, have done a lot of work. But I want more work done by UP, which is the largest EV market in this country. I want it done in Bihar. I want it done in Madhya Pradesh. So I want the entire country to be lifted on this journey. I don't want just Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. I want the center. I want UP, and not just L3. And if it's L3, better quality L3s. मुझे उससे भी problem नहीं है, right? But I want all of that. Listen, there are multiple problems, but I would say they're not problems. There are solutions. And if we want to care, if I want to care about, Yogesh, your kids and kids, right? We have to make, some of us will have to make that sacrifice. क्योंकि अगर हम यही सोचेंगे कि बस फ्रंट लाइन में वो बंदा गोली क्यों खा रहा है 30-40 हजार रुपए की सैलरी में और मैं यहाँ सो रहा हूं, तो सर वो भी ठीक नहीं है. ठीक है, मैं चाहूंगा that 1.4 billion की population में ये filter down. And I think we have an opportunity, we have a time, we have a country. I mean, we're talking about a 30 trillion economy, right? And we're talking about the third largest economy in the world. But we've got to make this change. Otherwise, the economy 4-5 आदमियों के पास ही होगा और बॉलीवुड में ही नाच रहे होंगे. वो मुझे नहीं चाहिए. Thank you.
I think Uday, you really, I always like your examples and the passionate way you talk about it. Really gives much more energy. Also, and then very, very sensible pointers as you touched upon, not just the government subsidies, or because at the end of the day, it cannot be sustainable way, and then the market has to, and then we need to make it sustainable through the financings and many other models which you are working on, and that's great to hear. I'll just move to the Raghu, because I think apart from the commercial vehicle, at the end of the day, the urban micromobility, or the way the e-bikes are shaping up, and Uday also pointed out there are a lot of big serious players with huge capital trying to get into this market. So what is the kind of a trend which you see, and then also from the Indian context per se? How you are ensuring, what kind of a, let's say in the similar way, what kind of a challenge which you see, and then how you are kind of addressing those challenges to ensure that e-bikes are in the micromobility sustainable game, right? So what is your viewpoint, what you guys are doing? Can you give some insights on that?
I'll definitely try, Yogesh. So look, I think one of the first points I'd like to sort of make around FAME. EVs in general, one of the biggest barriers of entry right now, this is true for any product category, is that during the initial adoption phase, the price is always higher. Till we hit scale, the price of adoption is always higher, which is where the government steps into the market and sort of subsidizes, incentivizes the adoption, the initial adoption at least. So I personally have been quite surprised why the electric cycles have never been part of FAME 1, 2, and 3. Because if you look at who this product can actually make a big difference to, you're talking of people who are not so privileged, right? Electric cycle actually cuts across multiple social classes or economic classes. But when you look at the slightly underprivileged class, it actually can have a massive impact. It can offer the opportunity to the complete class for better mobility. And the moment you sort of deliver that piece, you are unlocking a massive potential for a lot of these, for this whole entire section. So I've always been surprised why it's not been part of the FAME system. And probably maybe I heard Uday speaking about being on a forum. So Uday, maybe wherever you are in the next forum, if I'm not there, then please do please do hold the flag for electric cycles when it comes to FAME. and other panelists as well, because I've been trying to wave that. On another note, I think there are 2 points I'd like to talk about: challenges and what the barriers are, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I think one of the biggest barrier right now for us in our minds when it comes to micromobility is how we see vehicles proportional to our egos. The size of the vehicle is almost proportional to the size of the ego in our head. Not a bad thing, by the way. An ego is not a negative. I'm not painting a negative picture of an ego, and the reason that is because how and where India is right now, and where we are in the overall personal development life cycle. Because we've sort of, as a country, as a society, as a community, there's been a hockey stick curve in terms of wealth creation. So we've skipped many phases and many generations. People have not had landline, but have straight gone to OTT streaming directly, right? So in that whole cycle, at the pace it's going, and how we are actually bringing a lot of people and moving sections from a low economic classes into middle and high economic classes, there are aspirations, and the aspirations are attached to certain material objects. And mobility, for example, cars and vehicles that we drive is just one of them. So when we talk of micromobility, we're asking people to actually use less road space. Now, there's a person who's just come out of a struggling household, just made it in life, and wants to buy a car because he or she has been sick and tired of running cycles and small motorcycles, and just when she or he are about to purchase a car and drive a car, we're saying, hey, don't stop driving this car, just start using electric cycles or electric scooters. And he'll be like, hey, hang on a second, man, I've just arrived now. Let me just enjoy this life for a bit. So I think that part of that life cycle, we need to sort of let that dial go through, where we in our heads do not see a smaller vehicle as a step down in our development, in our own material sort of seeking world. Second part is where and how these vehicles are treated on the road. Again, as a community, we tend to ignore the bicycles and the scooters and the motorbikes on the road. We think they are like these nuisance creatures on the street. And people who are driving cars and the bigger the car, the more privilege we have on the road. I think that needs to go away. And I think the moment that starts going away, and we start sort of seeing the responsibility creep in, the bigger the vehicle, the more responsible you need to be, actually. So when we start recognizing that the smaller vehicles actually are doing a favor to the bigger vehicles on the road because they're trying to keep traffic as light as possible. So, and we need to kind of be aware of the vulnerability of such vehicles on the road as a driver of a larger car. I think that change mentally needs to also come in. You can't push that pace of change. It will come in. There's awareness being created. So these two are, for us, the biggest barriers of adoption. And look, you can't do influencer marketing. You can't get celebrities to come and endorse and say, hey, change yourself by next week. People need to go through, communities need to go through that change life cycle. And we just kind of need to expect, sort of sometimes hope that change happens quickly, because the rest of the markets, at least in the developed world, have gone through that change. I think they have gone through a change probably at a slower pace. Maybe for us, the opportunity is to go through that at a faster pace and drive this change as well.
No, I think very much. I really like the way, because I think it's needed as well, as you say, on the Indian roads, right? Here I'm in Pune, where I see that there's a lot of traffic already with the metro. It has become a quite challenge, and just you see 50 vehicles on the same road with one single person driving it, whereas as you said, the beyond the charging infrastructure, I would say the road infrastructure is very super limited, and that's where this micro mobility will pave the way. But as you said, the perception, that particular thing need more acceleration, and I hope it will change. Yeah, then probably the traffic congestions are even for a small commute. We do see that people are opting for these e-bikes overall in Pune. I will, so thanks for sharing that. I'll come to the Raman. Raman, given the way you are in the high precision uh, testing measurement solution, and as you said, the quality control aspect is much more important. So how these quality control or testing measurement solutions are kind of leading or helping towards this lifespan of the EV or performance of the EV much better or sustainable. Maybe can you give us maybe given now we need to go towards the end, maybe a shorter, quicker, please answer will help.
Sure, sure, sure. So, we, before I tell you about the quality control, we talked about the challenges what we are facing for the adoption of EV. We talked about the range anxiety. But for me, if I have to adopt the EV, I have the anxiety of getting it, the fire incidents which is currently happening.
Okay.
That is happening, because of, negligence of, the things which we are not getting, the batteries we are not testing. Just to give you a very small example, we are currently importing the cell from China or from Korea, and we are totally relying on the manufacturers that yes, they might have done somewhat of testing, and we are not going to do any of the testing. The climate of China, the climate of Korea, the climate of Japan is different. They might have done the testing based on the climate of that particular country. But yes, India has a different climate. We have temperature ranges from, minus 10 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, where our vehicle runs. So when the cells are coming from outside, we are not doing any testing. We are just assembling it into the module and making it a pack. There where our role is quality control. So what Marposs is doing, we have developed one solution which can, check the cell, complete finished cells at the incoming inspection or at the end of line of the cell manufacturing, so that you are very much sure that the cells which you are, putting it into the module, that cell is having the leak-proof electrolyte. No electrolyte is getting leaked, which if the electrolyte is leaking outside the cell and if it comes onto the contact of atmosphere, I'm not saying 100% that it is the possibility of fire. It is the only reason of fire, but yes, that is one of the reason of, the EV catching the fire. We have the solution to check the complete battery tray, battery packs, that is the leakage and the, the complete end of line electrical testing also, because you need to conduct certain testing. Now government is saying, like government has just decided that you need to focus on IP67. What does IP67 is? IP67 is you need to put your batteries inside 1 meter depth of the water, and then there should be not leakage. So it's a destructive test. Can you do it? Can you put your batteries inside the water of 1 meter depth, and then can you assemble it again over there? No. For that, we need to adapt some different method which we call air leakage testing or the helium leakage testing, to be very sure that, okay, fine, the leakage is not there. Moving on to the second part, what, currently we were not focusing on motors, but now from EVs, we are focusing on motors. So yes, in motors, it is very necessary to check, because now, motor will be running the EVs. So there is a test, end of line testing every motor manufacturer is doing, which we call, the different source test, high pot test, everyone is doing. No one in India I have seen doing the partial discharge measurement. So partial discharge measurement is a discharge which is already discharge, like the discharge is already started from the motor, which cannot be detected by, the surge test or the high pot test. So in EV, it is very much necessary to do the partial discharge measurement so that you can avoid your motor to get failed, because now your motor is the main part, because motor is not a small thing now. It's 30 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt motors are being assembled over there. So you need to perform certain testing to be very sure that yes, the product which you are rolling out to the market is full of quality proof. Last but not the least solution is for the four-wheelers, for gearboxes are there. So the only sound which will now remain from which will now come from the EV is the sound of the gears. So for that you need to do certain NVH testing, noise, vibration and harness testing, which currently we are not adapting, because yes, obviously the engine sound is very much so, sounds of the gearboxes are negligible. But for if I say for EV, this test has to be done. So for me, because we don't have that much time, so I would say focus on testing to have this ecosystem developed in a better way. And individual fear will go if yes, you will claim that your batteries, your motors, your gears are fully tested. Yes, I will also be happy sitting inside the EV car and I'll say, yes, this is being tested for a certain parameters which we know is to be tested, and then everyone will, adapt to this technology.
Yeah, I think very important aspect, as you say, safety particularly, which is more critical, and this still stands out somewhere at the back of the consumer, whether am I safe sitting on that battery
Exactly.
bomb situation, right? Because there's still incidences we see.
Just to
I'll
last point, just to
sure.
because this Uday always says, I'm just saying his words. One life lost is far too many.
Yeah.
So never focus, no, never say anything, never mess with the quality, because yes, I totally agree with Uday. One life lost is far too many.
It could be
So
anybody, right? It could be
yes,
sister, right? It could be my mother. And I think we've got to honestly, and I think I don't need to say this, I actually bought myself a Volvo electric. The MD is a friend of mine, Volvo cars. I mean, it's one of the safe. I bought it because of safety, right? And I'll be honest, right? If I'm driving, I want to drive in a safer vehicle. And if I bought an electric vehicle, I said, okay, Volvo has a history of the safety, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, and I agree with you very much, Raman-san, that we've got to have safety. And I'll tell you what, if we want to make this country, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't, I mean, Randheerji and Yuvraj-san have to speak, but I think safety and product really,
yes,
commitment. And I think that's where Marposs, I know Raman-san and Luca, and I know Marposs history over the decades is a product that, is a world class. I think it's something that we have to continuously, all of us have that responsibility. And I know Volvo has built a history on that.
right. Thank you.
Great, Raman, Uday-san. I think I'll just quickly get on to the Randheer-san in terms of being, again, I'm using the same words before and new hat. So maybe your question is, obviously we need to have to make it sustainable, we need to have a greater collaboration, as you say, with the SDG goes as well, that it's not just the tailpipe end, but even at the energy grid level also, we need to make it renewable. So how you see that currently the collaboration is happening or not, or how it should dwell between the OEM, between the energy providers and the government. So how you see currently is happening and how it could be better overall to make it more sustainable, or to drive the goals of SDB, I mean to say.
Yeah. So Yogesh, in fact, in my assignments, or so to say, the projects which I did in last 1.5 year, and in a way, all these things actually come together, wherein the policy support, what government is doing, and what industry wants actually. So all those things converge in one way or the other. I would like to give certain examples, the projects which we did, and also one very crucial aspect people have already spoken about, the electric bicycles, about the financing, about the vehicle, about the alternatives and all. One very crucial aspect which has been left out is the R&D part. And R&D is both ways, because not only what the future is going to be, but it also includes the testing agencies and other things, right? I did one project actually in last couple of months, and it was wherein one of Indian company actually agreed that they wanted to have one of the world's biggest research and development and contract researcher of Japan come to India. And that collaboration, they are 70, 80-year-old contract research organization who have worked for almost everyone, Panasonic, Samsung, CATL, even Japanese, Koreans, or whomsoever they have worked around. And they're very well known, and it's in public domain also now. It was very tough for them to bring to India. That's where the technological collaboration and the will that the R&D ecosystem has to develop here has to come from both sides. It's from the government as well as from the industry, and that's where the government also helped, and that's where the industry also had come to forefront to put up the money. So, the monetary support plus the long-term patience, because it took 1.5 year for to convince these Japanese to actually come out of the Japan, and they're coming up 70, 80-year-old organization, hardcore researchers, first time ever coming out of the Japan in collaboration here. So they're extremely reputed. They do the research and development right from the critical minerals for the cells, and they are mainly the failure analysis company, wherein if let's say you are manufacturing a cell and you want the certain parameters to come, and you cannot those parameters are not achievable to you, you go to them and they will do that particular work for you with the transferable IP. That's the contract research and development work which they do, and highly successful. uh, so government has also come into play. They also supported not only monetary this particular collaboration, but also had become the part of the project as one of the PIA, project implementation agency, because then only this trust factor increases whenever the people from outside, and mainly the Japanese and other people coming here. So this is one success story which the end-to-end project my firm did at ForeSee, and we were successful in bringing those people. And you will see soon this particular research and development center coming up in Bangalore,
Wow.
near the airport, in the BIL complex itself. So that is where this particular thing is coming. Similarly, I also have one more example wherein we did one project to bring in one of the charger manufacturer. They are the Poland-based charger manufacturer. They wanted to come to India, but they were not sure whether their product will meet the requirements, or our requirements are totally different. They are actually the preferred partner of BMW for the charging there. So they also needed the assurance what is going to be the policies, whether the fund is available or not, whether the ecosystem for the localization is available or not. That is where my firm helped them to understand, and also to get the existing product tested. ARA had come into play. Plus, what are the developments they need to do to meet the conditions here? What are the requirements locally here? Whether they should manufacture here, what level of localization they do. So I think this collaboration I already see happening in different aspects. I have another example also, but I think due to the paucity
Yeah.
of time, I'll stop here, because in recycling and refurbishing also the similar thing has been done for some of the Chinese manufacturers who wanted to come here with the JVs and all. Yeah, over to you, Yogesh.
No, I think great. I think it looks like you've been a great pivotal because you know the government side, you know the what kind of a mechanisms need to be worked out, pulled up to bring the industry people and make it more sustainable. Because that getting that hand from government, you need to know where to pull out in what way and so on. So it's great to see that you've been instrumental in making it happen. That kind of a collaboration. I'll quickly touch on the Yuvraj, and probably we'll take up a pointer from the Randheer last part. Maybe two aspects to that. One is the recyclability, reuse, or even in terms of the infrastructure, how Volvo is kind of making it possible in the Indian ecosystem. So if you could give some kind of example, Yuvraj, it'll be helpful. Maybe given that we have a shorter time, maybe 2 minutes is what the way TV anchors give the time to the speakers, I will have to give you 2 minutes specifically now.
No, Yogesh, totally agree, and I would ensure I finish it within the couple of minutes. I just want to say a couple of things. One is, like I mentioned previously, connecting to the point of how do we look at the whole value chain holistically. And for us, there is one part which is on electrification, but given we are also the culprit in producing diesel machines and diesel, for whatever donkey number of years we've done that, we have also realized that responsibility that this cannot go on forever. Eventually, even by 2030, 2040, there will be certain products which will only run on diesel because of the ecosystem constraints and because of technology's infeasibility or unviability. So how do we look at reusing, recycling in that? And we've one part of it is remanufacturing. So we have a service called remanufacturing of engines. After the life of a machine, 10 years, 15 years, the engine can come back and we remanufacture it so that it can get a second life. And then we have on the electric ecosystem side, we have something we have set up a new company called Volvo Energy. That is the newest company in our group. And the only mandate is to, okay, over the next few years, we will have a fleet of batteries coming out from our own trucks, our own construction machines, which are electric. How do we look at them? What could be the second life of it, and how do we recycle them? So Volvo Energy is only mandated to serve the internal businesses, and that although the impact of Volvo Energy is kind of, or the scope is very less in India because of our fleet in India is very small, but they still have a very significant presence as a company. So, we have looked at the whole value chain very holistically and looked at every aspect of both the IC engine solutions. How do we make them more sustainable?
Yeah.
And while we innovate on the sustainably powered systems for that. So for both, there is a clear plan chalked out and execution in progress.
Great, thank you. I think it's good to see that beyond the EV, whatever the existing engine ecosystem, that has to be part of the overall sustainability plan, and it's that good to see here how Volvo is shaping up that. I think with this we are really coming to the end of our the panel discussion here. Obviously, I really got a lot of good insights. I'm sure the audience would have got this multiple aspects in terms of how we as together having a shared vision for making this EV ecosystem more sustainable. And obviously, I do see that everybody is trying to look at different aspects. As we just summarizing wise, if I have to do that, Udayji trying to ensure that not just the manufacturing, local manufacturing for these three-wheeler or LCVs or trucks, but then also looking at the infrastructure part, the complete life cycle management part. Raghu trying to ensure that the managing the micro mobility or urban micro mobility are more trendings and going towards the acceleration path, and I'm sure things will go fall in place given the road infrastructure limitations. And then Marposs, Raman, the way you've been trying to ensure that the quality control and the testing measurement solutions are kind of making those products more safer and lifelong go from an end consumer perspective. Randheer, you're doing great job given the kind of your experience bringing for the players right from the financing to building up the collaboration framework or ensuring the collaboration happens between the different parties, including the government, which is great. And obviously, it's great examples, Yuvraj. Volvo is shaping up, as you say, end-to-end value chain, right? So I think this sums up really well that how all we are driving towards making India much more a leader in that, making that sustainable EV ecosystem. Obviously, our efforts are there. I do appreciate at the same time or realize that it will take good amount of time for all of us, but as long as we are making that right effort by everyone, we will be there to making it sustainable from this, not just from the climate perspective, but energy dependency perspective as well. And then obviously everybody want the economy to grow overall. So thank you everyone for sharing your perspective. It's great. Any last comment anybody want to give? Happy to listen. Otherwise, I would say thank you to the Dinesh and Mix team so for arranging this a great panel discussion and pulling together these experts.
Last thing I want to say, and I always everybody thinks I'm sort of try to be at the Samurai Awards. It's a great event. I know the team at Samurai Awards and Meshmix have done a lot of good work. He doesn't pay me for that, please. I'm not saying this because of but something that he's been working hard, and I think anybody who works hard, makes an effort, at least has got my vote. Great to see everybody. Great to see you, Randheer ji. Miss you at some of those government events some days, but keep doing the great work. And I know you've been a great leader, and my regards out of Volvo and everybody else. And yes, next time when I'm at the, I get to speak to the leaders, I'll definitely push for bicycles. I think that bicycles are important. I keep thinking, and I think that anybody who's working on building the ecosystem is a friend of ours. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.